Make a connection. Let's go together. Let's go together.
Hey guys, how's everybody?
Hey.
Man, so amazing that you guys can join us. We wanted to make
Yes.
sure that you guys visit our website, webuildlegacy.com, so that you can download your free resource, What's Black Love Got to Do
You
with
gotta
It?
get the resource
Yes,
so
you
that
do.
all of this makes sense. We want to talk to you a little bit about what you can expect. We have really poured so much energy into this project for you. Okay, if you're finding yourself here, it's because it's for you.
Yeah, that's right. We're actually looking forward for young people like yourself, young Black couples, to come in and engage and take a look at a different perspective,
Exactly.
which you'll see later on. We talk about the actual whole entire story. And we think it's going to be worth your while because this was a living, walking
Exactly.
journey for us. As Dr. Andrea was doing her dissertation work, it was very fluid and it was actually revelatory. Each and every section that she was going through, it was actually a part of our journey.
Yeah.
And so, during the formative and early parts of our relationship, we hit some really, really tough parts as we were,
26 years.
yeah, identifying
26
with,
years.
preconceived gender roles, which were set up in majority culture as the standard, and it affected us. And
And it affected our Black love and the way we saw ourselves. It affected the way we saw others, each other. And we want to be able to help you with that. We have 26 years in the game. And you like me still? I still like you. We still like each other. We still are each other's biggest cheerleaders.
Yes.
We've learned to do that even more now than what we knew to do before. And we really, 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 really want to invite you to just consider you're young. I have conversations with my husband. I was like, if I was the age of my grandmothers, when they had their babies, they were like 15, 16. I said, I could have a 30-year-old plus child. Whoa, wait a minute. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. And it made us think. It's like, we do stuff all the time, but we have things we really want to make sure that we are imparting to you all that are in this newer generation. You have options, so many options that sometimes it's hard to land on something. And we want to help you wade through that water, through that marsh. We want to help give you some ideas and help, as you just said, expand that single story to involve, more of the full story.
Exactly. We call it, I like to call it posturing position.
Hey, now.
Which is so important, when you're in a relationship. So, you can use this particular format and resource to not only better your relationship romantically, but also in business and in recreation. Relationships are important, very important. It's about life and about relationships. And coming from a context where you take the whole story and you include your heritage as an African here in the world,
exactly,
it will set you at a position where you begin to create a paradigm to connect dots that put you out front and not behind in a deficit model, where you begin to see your part that you've played, your ancestry have played from a positive perspective, so that you're cranking at all cylinders to be able to be a positive influence at your job, in your family, and providing a sustainable legacy, building a sustainable legacy for those young people that are following you, your children, and all those other people around you that look up to you. So yeah, we have not claimed to know it all, but we've actually been through an amazing journey. Still looking forward to even yet more of an amazing journey, and we wanted to take time through Andrea's dissertation work.
Well, this is not the dissertation. This is just sharing the results of it. So
Right.
the dissertation, there are links that you can go and you can look at the full work.
Right.
But this is the results, and this is the way that I've figured out how I can share it with the public. Anyone who's ever really read a dissertation knows it's not the most exciting read.
Yeah, this is like the cliff notes.
Exactly, and it's a little more because this is
Right.
not what I studied. You know, my study didn't involve all these things that you're going to hear in this book. I was not talking about what was going on in the African continent. I was not talking about all these different things. So this is the Cliff Notes, and this gets you to the punchline a lot faster than the 200 pages. But I want to say a couple of things about what you can expect. First of all, my husband just said, as Africans, I say in another place in the book, for some people that's going to bother you. Like, why are you saying that? Why are you saying, we're African? Well, because we are. No one says that to someone who's Chinese. No one says that to someone who's Indian, even if they've never been to India or China or Asia, if that helps you as a continental thing. No one has a problem saying, oh, so-and-so is Asian. It's very common. And no, they're not saying Asian American. They're just saying, oh, the Asian guy. You understand? So we embrace that as well. Whenever I've traveled outside of this country, the very first thing they noticed was my complexion, my features, my phenotype, all of those things. And so if I was seen, I was first assumed to be African before I opened my mouth. No one was saying, she looks like an African American. So we embrace that. I embrace that. We embrace that. And all the diversity of Africans on the continent, we embrace that. That's the first thing. So love it or leave it, like it or whatever. Get used to that and get ready for it. The other thing is, one thing you'll notice that this does not involve, it does not involve things like, female genital mutilation, and this is what happened, on the continent, and child marriage, you didn't talk about child marriage. I did not. I did not. The abuse of women, you didn't talk about how abusive the African men are to different things. And part of the focus of this is highlighting. Remember, we talked about that single story. That's what we hear about over here. We hear about those things. They are broadcast broadly until the point that that's what we think is our only truth and the only truth we can gather from there. Meanwhile, if you're dealing with Europe, people somehow, I don't know how, I don't get it, how you can overlook all the negative stuff that has happened. People overlook all that for that dominant story. People forget all about the horrible things that were done and will embrace the good. Well, I'm here to tell you that in the spirit of Sankofa, that's exactly what I do. I go back, I realize that no place is perfect, but the same way that we can, if you talk about enslavement in the United States, well, it was legal back then, but we've grown and we've evolved. Meanwhile, there are, really?
We're coming here with this particular research and framework to paint a wonderful picture of Africa. See this beautiful silhouette of Africa?
We are bringing out the good because Sankofa it means that it's not taboo to go back and fetch what you forgot or go back and get it. And if you only believe a negative story, the one that has been portrayed to you, if that's all you believe, then you'll never think there's anything to go back and get. So just know, I'm sure you know all the negative things that you could possibly want to know. Just understand that that's not the focus of what we're doing. We're not here to just talk about the negative stuff. I'm not bringing up the negative stuff. I'm looking at the things, grabbing the best of what Africa has to offer that can actually serve us. That's the goal of this particular resource.
We're here to shake up paradigms. We're here to shatter paradigms. So, we have to actually come in a spirit of grace as well, because, early on in our journey as a power couple, it was difficult for us because we had mindsets that actually constricted us into these gender role models that didn't attribute to who we were as individuals, which caused this cognitive dissonance that we're going to actually talk about. And so I love what's actually being presented, so that it gives you the opportunity to begin to think critically about the dots and the paintings that have been placed before you, to reconstruct it in a way that will put you forward and ahead in your thinking process, giving you a spirit of peace to be able to have tension, but a healthy tension. We all have tension in our relationships, but we don't have to come from a negative context, but we want to come to a positive context. And I think that's better done when we take into consideration our whole picture as Africans of the diaspora on from the continent of Africa, and we'll review
and diaspora.
and diaspora. Yes,
I think you said that, but I just want to say it again.
Most definitely. To
we
view,
are African.
To view, ourselves as rulers that our ancestors were, who were inventors of sciences, medical intervention, education,
others travel to learn from.
Yes.
So I wanted to say this too, because I have a language partner. I'm learning a few languages. And so I have a language partner, and today I was talking to him, young brother. I'm learning isiZulu, and so because that's where we have been connected. In case we haven't said that, we have found and made family in South Africa. And that blesses us. And we'll be, if you get connected to us now, we are in the process of sharing some of those things, some of those videos and pictures. We had a marriage ceremony, a traditional wedding in 2018. And so we have a lot to share. So make sure you get connected with us. But I was bringing this up for this point here. I was talking about culture today, and I was asking my language partner, I said, do you believe that, because he grew up in a rural area, and then he also has his Western experience. And I asked him, I said, do you believe that, after he had mentioned how he noticed how women didn't have the same rights as this and that, I said, do you believe that that is what you all were before Europeans came? Wow. Or do you believe that it was a result of, and he's like, wow, that's quite a question, because I've been asking questions. They have there's a reed ceremony in among the Zulu people. And he was like, I can only comment for Zulu culture, but it involves, things where the women might not have they're not women, they're girls. The young maidens is what is framed as. So I'll say it that way. May be dressed very, just with the apron, and so I said, now when you see whether it's your sisters or other women and you're having ceremony and things like that, and they are not covered, do you see that this is the same way that you see when you're in your Western culture? He's like, he said, it's different. And I made the example for him. I said, I'm guessing that what you see when you see, and when you all are having certain ceremonies and different things, that if your sister walked in to, like when I was at University of KwaZulu-Natal, I said, if she walked into a university setting with that attire on, with that traditional attire on, that you would run to cover her up, wouldn't you? And he said, I would run and say, what are you doing? Why are you showing yourself? Just the thought and the understanding that culturally, some things look different in context. I asked about context a couple of times. It's important to understand that some things are about context. I asked him about, you feel like the women weren't treated well. Do you feel like it was like that before? He said, it was different. It's like there was an understanding and a respect for what everybody did. Wow. See, there's a context, there's a way we frame words and say things. everybody doesn't think it's oppressive that, you know, women have the more domestic chores. It's not just about the thing and the action that's being done. It's about the context. We want to deal with the context.
Wow.
Okay. Look at the same thing again. What is the difference if, you know, you see this in this context and see it in another? You know, if you find out when we get to, you know, find your tribe, if you say, you know, I just believe more, I'm more of that traditional mind frame of mind or whatever, that's to be honored. This is not about what you choose to do or how you choose to be in your relationships. It's about whether there's a respect for this context.
And everything that's different doesn't mean
Deficient. Exactly.
That's right. And majority culture seems to paint that picture. We don't want to
Exactly.
be one nation, then anything that looks different or darker than what we've accustomed to, then it's deficient or it's dark and it's not right. And that's
Or
not,
at best, they'll make it exotic. And, you know, come on.
or urban.
Oh, okay.
Or what's the other word begins with the A? I can't think of it right now. Alternative or
You know,
whatever.
there's always something, but
Yeah.
it's never placed in context of, you know, this country. It's never placed in context of this is a part of the story. This is always another like caveat to the story. It's always an extension of the story.
So we're here to set the record straight as it relates to the continent of Africa.
Exactly.
And its elegance.
And we're sharing parts. We don't have it all.
Correct.
We're sharing, and you'll notice I'm very specific about what I'm sharing about. I focus a lot on the same way they focus on, the Western culture focuses on ancient things. I'm focusing on those things. So this is not exhaustive. This is not the pinnacle of research. This is enough to get you to start doing the work yourself, because it's your responsibility and it's mine too. You know, I wanted to say one more thing. As you remind them that they can go to We Build Legacy to get the resource.
Sure.
I also want to make sure that they understand that we do have an offer. Okay. Show them so they'll know what the resource looks like, please. Thank you.
Yes.
If for those, hear me, hear ye. For those who go through the entire course, this online resource with us, and comment on every single video, but you got to do every single video. We will enter you into a raffle. We're going to give away the one. We have 2 courses available at webuildlegacy.com right now. And one of them is Maximizing Connection, yes, which is good for any relationship, family, professional, you know, significant other, children. It's good. Yeah. I love actually the tools. Singles, everything. It's just really helping us realign with how we interact with people. Yeah. And that's the Maximizing the Connections series. And the other one is Power Couple Mentoring. Okay. And so what we're going to do is if you comment on every video, you got to comment on every video. All right. And
that's every video within the What's Black Love Got to Do with this series.
Every video in this series. Thank you, my love. Mm-hmm. If you comment on every single video, and then you will be entered into a raffle. Okay. Now we don't know the cutoff time. I'm not going to date it in that way, but you'll know when it, you know, when we'll set a certain time limit. But if you comment on every single video, give us your thoughts about every single video, good, bad, or otherwise, then your name will be entered and you can let us know. Are you looking do you want the Maximizing the Connection course, or would you prefer the Power Couple Mentoring? So we want to offer that to
announce the winner. What we'll do is on that last set of video, or that last videos, we'll probably put a heart by your response and say that you have won. So
no. We'll acknowledge them with the heart. We'll let you know about the responses. Okay. Yeah, we'll let them know, because I might like the comment that they have. You know, and I might want to just show that they have.
But we'll
let you know about that.
In the comment section and other ways.
Yes, we'll make sure that we contact you and let you know. Okay.
And also I wanted to mention is that we have a Power Couple quiz.
Exactly.
That's available on the WeBuildLegacy.com website. So make sure you go there, visit. We challenge you to take that quiz before you get involved with the What's Black Love Got to Do with it commentary and reading, and then afterwards, consider taking it apart from each other and then taking it together after it and compare your results. I think you'll be pretty satisfied about what you find
Exactly. You're
out.
going to learn a lot about yourself. So
That's right.
are we ready to do this, babes?
We are ready to do this.
Oh, you guys are awesome. I can't wait to see you and read your comments. Comments, like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. Mwah! See you on the other side,
Appreciate
guys.
you,
See
guys.
you.
Maintain and maximize the connection in your life.
Oh, my brother, my sister, let's go make the connection. Let's go.